If you struggle with chronic loneliness, you are not alone. Men are 4 times as likely as women to commit suicide, twice as likely to be struggling with substance abuse, and I believe 4 times as likely to be struggling with an undiagnosed mental illness. Now, this video is not intended to shrug all accountability, right? The point of this video really is to help you take accountability for what it is that you can take accountability for, perhaps with a little bit of my guidance, but I also want to acknowledge that there are, in fact, environmental factors, right? There are, in fact, modeling-based factors that come into play, right? So before I jump in and start to kind of give you some thoughts on what it is that I think we can do about this, right? And I'm coming at this from a place of focusing on intimate relationships, but you can use this information really to tackle damn near any type of relationship and really fix yourself, right? Focus on the things that you can do as fundamental factors that will increase your ability to feel fulfillment in any area of life. But again, the vast majority of the reason that I made this video originally was to focus on intimate relationships. I think that's like when most of us think about overcoming loneliness, like that's a lot of what we're focusing on. But when it comes to building community, when it comes to forging friendships, this stuff is super, super important. And so I want to make sure that this video is relevant to that as well. I want to admit to you guys that this video came from the results of the election primarily. Like, I've been thinking about making this video for a long period of time. And for those of you that have, stuck around with my tiny little YouTube channel over the years, you know that it takes me a long time. And that's probably why I, might not be awesome at social media or YouTube or whatever, because I'm not super consistent. But the original point of this video was after the election, I saw just how stark the divide was in terms of who voted for Kamala Harris and who voted for Donald Trump. And, politics aside, I'm sure we'll talk more about politics and such things in the future. But these things aside, I thought that the gender gap was very, very telling, right? And I thought that the narrative around the gender gap was super telling as well. And I think that whether it's to save our population as far as demographic collapse as Elon Musk is apparently so focused on, or just revitalizing our society with a little bit more connection between men and women, or just people in general, I figured that it's important to talk about some of the things that I see as far as mistakes that guys are making on a regular basis. And I do a lot of TikTok lives, right? I do a lot of these sort of roundtable discussions. And so I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what a lot of you guys are missing and really actionably what you can do to change it. Now, again, the purpose of this video really is to increase fulfillment. And so if you're already listening to this and you're feeling like I've got to resist, I've got to kind of call out why I think that men do need to go their own way and we shouldn't capitulate to women or whatever these things are, this video is really not for you, right? I think the reality is, if you were to be honest with yourself, you're still in a place where you desire combat, right? You desire to be the odd one out and to resist rather than acknowledge. And this is not a video for people that want to resist rather than acknowledge. This is a video for people that want to heal, right? That want to become somebody who is both sexually marketable, as well as intimately, marketable to women, and then, really to friends, to other people in life, as cheesy as that sounds, right? So I would say that, you can judge qualifications to whatever degree that you want, right? The way that I would say that perhaps I think that I am qualified to make this video is, number one, as far as relationships, myself and my girlfriend have been together for almost 4 years. I've been in relationships more than I haven't since I was 12 years old. I'm 27 now. I'll be 28 in a couple of months. As far as success goes, I would say that I am more of a masculine kind of dude. I consider myself non-binary, and we'll get into that, stuff later. But at the risk of digressing from the point too much, I have 2 businesses that I've built that are successful, 3 to some degree, which we can talk about another time. I mean, I'm not rich, but I am financially free, right? And I've been able to do all this with essentially no help. Now, the other thing that I do want to point out as far as, backstory and whether it's relevant to listen to me, I acknowledge that modeling really matters, right? And I have been incredibly blessed in my life to have parents who have remained together, right, for the entirety of my life. And so that's been something really effective for me to model as far as like what does it take to be a good partner, right? Beyond just being marketable, what does it take to be somebody that doesn't just get into relationships and then burn bridges? I think a lot of the guys in the masculine space or the manosphere are people that are really not actually that credible, right? They are successful maybe because of a podcast or maybe because of some other one-off, career achievement. But when it comes to their intimate relationships, there's not much to be had there, right? A lot of these guys are multiple times divorced. A lot of these people, when you actually see footage of them interacting with their spouse, it's super uncomfortable. And so I figured that, I might be a pretty young person. I might not have a huge amount of traction in life, but I can give you some pretty objective things that I have had work for myself and what I see as really not working for other people. So all that being said, let's jump in. There's three things, right? There's three factors that we're going to talk about in this video. Number one is basic habits. Number two is drive and achievement. And then number three is politics. And, that's going to push a lot of people's buttons and trigger a lot of people. But look, I'm here to give you guys honest feedback. I'm here to actually help you improve your life. I'm not going to pussyfoot around nothing. I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. I'm here to give it to you raw as far as like what is actually going to work. So if you are ready to overcome chronic loneliness, if you're like, I'm sick and tired of feeling this way, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, I'm sick and tired of being dejected and feeling really like I am not a capable person and I don't know how to adjust myself to be somebody, but I am ready to do it whatever it takes. Listen to some of these points and see if any of it resonates with you. And again, it's going to be actionable. That's my hope. So here we go. Continuing the one take. So the first thing is basic habits, y'all. I'm unfortunately using my buddy, pretty much my best friend in the world, to give you the rawest examples of this. So, I'm just going to say it. My man chews with his mouth open. Unironically, chews with his mouth open. I don't know if he has ever had anyone call him out on it before. I've called him out on it at least once, but it doesn't change. And ironically, he also is not seeing a lot of success with relationships right now. And he might not agree with that as far as like, oh, well, I'm not pursuing anybody. But when you are a person who exists in a state such that you are exhibiting qualities that people want to be around, you don't have to pursue people, right? They gravitate towards you. And so when you have a personal habit such as chewing with your mouth open, right? Such as failing to use deodorant, such as failing to brush your teeth on a regular basis, right? And I know you're looking at a guy who's like hella scraggly and shit trying to tell you like how to take care of yourself. But the reality is that if you have these habits that are unconscious and fundamentally repulsive, people are not going to want to be around you. And that's the first step, right? They say that you should never judge a book by its cover, but to a large degree, if the cover is sticky, if the cover smells bad, nobody's going to pick the book up in the first place. And so what I recommend that you all do, if you have people in your life, if you have siblings, if you have parents, if you have people that are able to be authentic with you and you're not afraid to hear what it is that they have to say, ask people about what sorts of habits, what sorts of personal conduct do you exemplify on a daily basis that might not be super attractive, that might be difficult to spend time around. If you can hear these people give you this feedback and you can make adjustments, this is not only something that will make you physically significantly more attractive or just easier to be around, right? Like if you chew with your mouth open, it's damn near impossible to spend time around you when you're eating, right? If you have habits like this and you're willing to listen to other people's feedback, you will find not only are you improving yourself objectively, right, but you have this weapon that allows you to improve for the rest of your life because you're willing to listen to other people. I'm going to go a little bit deeper on this and kind of harp on the same friend a little bit more because this awareness goes deep, right? What I'm talking about is fundamentally self-awareness. So, right, we talked about the objective, like physically brush your teeth, chew with your mouth closed, right? use deodorant, shower on a regular basis. Nothing crazy, y'all. But I also want to touch on an example of using awareness to be considerate of other people, because objectively, physically, taking care of yourself is being aware of other people, right? But that's only the first step. This friend of mine, he recently, the last girl that he was in a relationship with, she was a vegetarian. He is the furthest thing from a vegetarian, right? And she was, now the other thing is I didn't really have a huge amount of interaction with this individual, right? He only brought her around to hang out a handful of times. But on a couple of those experiences, which is not a great sign if there were only a couple of those experiences, I noticed that there was a pretty severe amount of inconsideration for her. And I'll give you an example. And if this example doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to you as to why it triggered my red flags, that's something for you to really, really think about deeply, right? And, drop a comment. Let's have a conversation. So we had a cookout, and he clearly, didn't think about her at all. She's a vegetarian. And so when we get to this cookout, my girlfriend and I are vegans, and you can, roast us in the comments, call me a soy boy, whatever it is. But, we typically have to be considerate of our dietary needs in group settings, because it's usually far from what other people want to eat, right? So we're having this cookout. Of course, everybody brings like burgers and hot dogs and whatnot. My girlfriend and I bring our own burgers and hot dogs and whatnot, right? It's like, the Impossible Meat burgers or something, I'm pretty sure. So we bring that, we bring our buns, we bring our veggies. We're all cooking. And then we all sit down to eat. And she has nothing in front of her. And everybody's eating. And my friend says to her, my buddy who's dating her, says to her, "Oh, are you going to eat what they're eating? Like, are you going to eat what Zach and Emiko are eating?" Like referencing myself and my girlfriend. And she looks at us and she's like, "Well, if you guys have any extra, sure." Right. And then we're kind of like, "Oh, well, yeah, sure. Of course you can have, what we're eating." But it was striking to me that, your girlfriend's a vegetarian, right? You're bringing her into a group setting. I mean, fuck a group setting. You're inviting her to be in a space where the fucking intention is that we're eating food together, right? And you don't prepare for her at all. Like, let alone open a door for her or pull out a chair for her or take her coat or something, like some classic basic chivalry that I think helps women feel like you were really thinking about them, right? It's like a whole side tangent, but it's like you don't even think about preparing the space for her, right? Fundamentally, that is so required. And people notice these kinds of things, right? And so I think my buddy here is a really good example of almost zero awareness, right? Almost zero awareness for yourself, right? And the way that other people experience you. And then for the way that other people experience spending time with you, right? That something as basic as her having a dietary requirement and you not preparing at all for it. And there's a couple there's a couple other examples I can provide of this, my buddy just not really considering her at all. Like he's like, he treats her like a bro in a way, right? Like he's like, I am bringing her along, and that's enough, right? That's it's as simple as that. Nothing else is required. But that's not how relationships work, right? Relationships are partnerships, right? They go far deeper than friendships. But even friendships, like if I have a dietary requirement and you're planning out this thing for us to go hang out, maybe if it's just the two of us and we show up to a restaurant where I can't eat anything, that's a failure. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this friend of mine is really considerate. This friend of mine is really thinking and like is conscious of me, right? Do I appreciate you inviting me? Absolutely. But you didn't consider me beyond that, and especially for a woman, especially for a person that you want to be in a partnership with, whatever. If you're, if you're gay, if you're, whatever your preference is, like you got to fucking think about the other person, right? And you got to really prepare spaces for them, because that's what you are trying to do long term, right? You're trying to be a partner. Nobody's going to live with somebody that can barely consider their dietary requirements, right? And so this is all of this is number one. It's self-awareness. And the best way that you can figure out how to improve your self-awareness, number one, become empathetic. Become empathetic. Become somebody that is conscious of other people's needs. This is fucking quintessential, y'all. And then beyond that, beyond just setting that intention, be willing to ask people in your life, right? I guarantee you have friends. I guarantee you've I don't know, teachers. You've had people in your life. You must have people right now who you're able to have these raw conversations with. Maybe you're not, dude. Join my Discord. Jump on. Let's have a conversation, and I will give you this feedback, right? Drop a comment. Send me an email. I will give you this feedback. But if you're willing to ask the world for feedback on this stuff, you're going to get some really good information, and this is going to become some of the most powerful information for self-improvement. All these YouTube videos, like, hey man, like I love that you guys watch my content, but the most useful thing that you can do is be conscious yourself, ask the people in your life, take notes, try to be aware. And I guarantee you're going to be far better off, because the reality is like so many people are struggling with this sense of being totally locked, but they're not actually willing to ask, what can I do differently, right? And I think this is one of the biggest problems with this sort of red pill space is there's so much victimization of oneself, right? So much blaming of the external world. That's lazy stuff. So number 2 is drive, right? Drive and passion. Now, I will give my buddy credit for this. The dude is really committed to building his YouTube channel and I'm a little jealous. He's got way more subscribers than me. But this whole video is not to self-aggrandize and share my shames. So he is driven. He's passionate. He's making content about something that is important to him. And this matters. This matters a lot. I think that you would be surprised how many people don't care that you play video games. They don't care that you have like this weird side project or hobby. Because at the end of the day, if you are passionate about something, if you are driven to becoming more successful in any area about anything, people see that reflects positively on you, and it defines you as somebody who cares about stuff, who's able to put their sort of primitive needs second to be able to work towards growing something and work towards building something. This is a very beautiful quality in a person that you want to be in a relationship with. And, even building friendships, right? And so I know that, you've probably seen little memes or whatever, a 40-year-old woman saying that like, like playing video games is such a gross thing or whatever it is. Look, there are infinite types of people. There are infinite preferences. And I guarantee if you're a guy my age, you're not really looking to form a long-term relationship with a relatively basic middle-aged woman anyway. Right. And if you are, awesome. There are plenty of middle-aged women who are attracted to whatever it is that your hobby is, even if it is playing video games. OK, but I say all this to kind of help you understand that if your whole thing is like sitting around watching Jordan Peterson on YouTube, right, and like doing like mental philosopher stuff, but you're never building anything, right? You're never striving towards anything. You're existing in self-wallowing all of the time. That is something that other people see. That reflects very poorly on you, and it reflects poorly on your ability to be somebody that is a worthwhile long-term partner. I'm gonna go inside real quick. So look, this is the second one that I want you guys to think about, right? It's like, what could you be building? What could you be striving for? What kinds of projects could you be growing? How could you be metamorphosizing, right, with interesting new horizons? I don't know how much deeper I need to get with this, right? If you have something that you're working on, if you have something that you're striving for, it could be anything. There is no limit on what options you have here. But the fact is that you have to have something. Finally, the third thing, and like I said, this is going to be the most uncomfortable one for most people, right? It is politics. It is politics. And again, this is the reason that I kind of made this video in the first place. Was after the election, I saw that, especially with like the whole like your body, my choice stuff, right? I think that's like the perfect example of what I'm talking about here. I think a lot of men exist in a place of wanting to punish the external world for their own failures. And I think conservative ideology fundamentally is that. It's a lack of empathy. It's a desire to exert control on the world using policy, right? To overcome one's own fear by subjugating the external world. And the bottom line is, you might believe that abortion is murder, right? That abortion is bad, right? That illegal immigration is a massive problem, that transgender ideology is destroying your society. The fact of the matter is that the limitation of these kinds of things is always at the detriment of the most marginalized people. And women have always been the first and foremost most marginalized group. Any smart woman will see what you are saying in regards to limiting the freedoms of other people, and the first thing that they think about is themselves, right? They're thinking, how is this, it's not how is this limiting me? It's more like, if this person is willing to, spew these ideas of limiting other people, there's no way in hell that they're not consciously willing to limit me, right? And so this is where real tragedy happens, right? So I think if you guys look into what's going on in Texas with their total abortion ban, there are many women who would have considered themselves conservatives, that they then struggle with some kind of miscarriage, and then they realize that they cannot get care unless they are medically at risk, right? Potentially going to get sick and die. And this is what you're seeing a lot of these women having to wait until they get sick, carrying a dead fetus inside of them in order to be able to, get treatment for this, right? And they're realizing, this whole thing about, choice, it was never about the child. It was never about the baby. It was always about the control of their bodies. And once that autonomy is no longer there, right, from people that really did want to give birth and have a baby, right, they're realizing it's not, the idea of killing a fetus or not is barely ever the conversation. It's always whether you are going to survive a medical complication. So this is, my point of this video is not to get into a debate and share my fucking perspectives on abortion. And the whole point is to help you understand that the reason the vast majority of women are left leaning, right? In America, we call it liberal, not technically the correct definition of liberal, but the reason that most American women are liberals, right, is because liberal policies are the more socially progressive. They are the more human first. Whereas conservative policies are always ideological first, before they are considerate of the human. And the problem is, when that happens, marginalized people get fucked. And the first and foremost demographic of marginalization is female, is woman, right? So I'm not saying for you to abandon all of your firmly held positions or your firmly held beliefs or any of that. What I am asking you to do is to be honest with yourself. Do you know what you're talking about? Do you know what you believe? And is it so important to hold on to these beliefs that you probably don't actually really consider the big picture of the implications of these beliefs when the vast majority of women are doing something, right? The vast majority of women are telling you something. Are you listening? Or is it more important to you to reject what they're saying in favor of remaining in your comfort zone? That's the bottom line here, right? So women are giving you the details. Women are giving you on a golden platter. They are handing you what they need as far as the future that they can feel safe in, right? It is the most toxic of masculine perspectives to feel unsafe with that information, to feel like that information is triggering you, is making you vulnerable. When you feel this sense of emotional risk, that is strength, right? That is an opportunity for you to get stronger. And if you're rejecting that, the bottom line is you need to go back to fucking step one and acknowledge that you have minimal self-awareness, right? Your response to your consciousness delivering you tidbits of awareness that you can use to grow is to reject it. That's what you're doing. right? That's why you double back and fall back on these like principles that are, I promise you, they're not very strong, my friend. If you want to debate me on this, drop a comment. We can, come on my TikTok lives, we'll debate it. But I guarantee, like, you don't hold as strong of perspectives as you think you do. Most of these perspectives are self-protecting. What's the word that I want? They're like self-defense, basically, perspectives. They're not actually about firmly held beliefs that will make society better. Because let me be the first to tell you straight up, you're wrong. You're wrong, right? Limited abortion access just causes more women to die. It doesn't lead to lower abortions, right? It leads to more complicated abortions. It leads to women not being able to get medical care in situations where they're having a miscarriage. They didn't want to have a miscarriage, right? They wanted to have a child, but now they are struggling with a complication because the child died within them, right? And they are not able to get access to, to improving themselves, right? To becoming well again, right? So I'm trying to figure out where to go with this to really hammer this home. The bottom line is, like, if you want to be in a long-term relationship with a woman, if you want to get married, and especially if you want to be in a relationship with a smart, capable individual who is going to further your prospects in life, is going to make life easier for you so you can pursue that massive career or whatever it is that you want, right? You need somebody who is solid. And finding somebody who is solid is all about finding somebody who is intelligent, who is aware, and who is compassion first, because that's what a partner is. If you are not that, there's no way you're going to find somebody who's like that, right? This whole idea of like the way that you're going to solve this chronic loneliness, the way that you're going to escape this lifelong sense of depression and anxiety, is by being a man who limits his woman, who has these massive expectations for how she limits herself, right? You are going to fail. You will always fail. And that's the whole point of this video, is fuck all of that. Fuck all that bullshit. It's all nonsense. It's all intended to limit you. It's all intended to further this sort of fundamentalist, traditional ideology. And I'm not saying like being traditional is bad. I'm not saying having a nuclear family and like farming or where you as the male are the breadwinner and the woman is the primary nurturer. Dude, I know a lot of like women are gonna listen to this and say that's not true, but I genuinely believe like most women want that, right? But they don't want that with somebody who brings it in a cage for them to climb into, right? If your way of doing it is by telling her, look, you have to be this, you have to be this, you have to be this before we get into a relationship. All of this shit is you by yourself on the internet creating expectations that most people do not want to climb into because you are not good enough. Because you you don't take care of yourself, because you don't have drive for anything. Even like if you do, claim to care about this conservative policy future, how many of you are actually taking any action beyond voting, if you even voted, right? Do you join any local organizations? Are you part of any organized group that is, advocating for policy? Probably not, right? Fuck all that. Be honest with yourself. What are you doing that is making you a person that is improved? And I'm gonna leave you guys with one thing. It is 2024, right? None of us are pillaging villages anymore. None of us are going out and fucking climbing on a boat on the high seas and hunting down whales to get our dinner, right? Most red pill, or whatever you want to call it, like masculine spaces that are trying to teach men how to be men, it is all focused around a lie, right? It is all focused around being a materially better person. And not even better, just materially more person, right? Physically stronger, physically more capable in terms of jujitsu or whatever it is, right? In terms of being financially more, right? Having more money, having a larger set of business skills. And this is coming from somebody who does all these things, right? Like I said, I currently own and maintain 2 businesses. I own and maintain 3, but the third one is just, it's like a glorified house sitting essentially. Right, I am a physically fit person. Most of my career up until this point has been in personal training. Go on my Instagram, go on my TikTok. I have the fucking physical results to prove what I'm talking about, right? I do jujitsu. I practice mixed martial arts. I practice firearm skills, you guys. I do a lot of these like masculine things, but I do them secondarily to the emotional work, to the shadow work, if that word, triggers you to piss your fucking underwear, right? These things matter way more, right? Being somebody who is empathetic, who is capable of sitting down and listening to somebody complain about them and not freaking out and getting mad, taking the information and being a vessel and allowing the tension to disperse because you are strong enough to be present with the way that you feel. Back to step one, right? So this is the kind of work that is the most important, right? It is being willing to acknowledge about yourself emotionally. Where do I react on a regular basis? Where am I not able to have honest conversations? Where do I find myself getting triggered and creating tension, creating problems? Because at the end of the day, it's like the warrior in the garden. The demeanor is like the whole like fighting and all that, like the swordsmanship or whatever, it's only impressive because of their demeanor, right? Knowing what they're capable of is only impressive because you understand just how effectively they are able to restrain themselves, right? Just how effectively they are able to prioritize the soft skills of relating to people, of listening to people, of being empathetic towards people, of trying to connect the dots of what it is this other person is frustrated about, even when it involves yourself, right? Self-accountability, being willing to say, I fucked up. I caused this problem. Now I've acknowledged that. Now I can shift. Now I can fix things, and I can fix things forever. This is the kind of stuff that you need to be prioritizing. And so if you want a video on shadow work, if you want a video on like actionably how to deal with these emotions and how to overcome feelings in a way that is constructive and will actionably make your life better. I mean, every single negative feeling that you have is a gift that you can use to actionably improve yourself. So if you want a video on that, drop a comment below. But the bottom line, my friends, raise your self-awareness. Remove yourself from a place of being self-aggrandizing and having to make your feelings and your thoughts the primary point of everybody else acknowledging that and everybody listening to you, right? Flip that on its head. They say seek first to understand, and then you can seek to be understood. But the reality is, if you are able to seek to understand, you don't even need to be understood, right? Because you have the skills within yourself to overcome these feelings for yourself. You don't need other people to like coddle you and deliver for you. This is what the toxic masculine space wants. It wants you to blame everybody else. It wants you to say that the world is going in this horrible direction. And the only way that we're going to heal it is by this really ugly sense of, further diving deeper into like traditional gender roles and not letting other people escape them. I'm going on hella tangents in this video. The bottom line is, right, raise your self-awareness. Have something that you care about. Be willing to prove to the external world that you have a drive beyond your need to wallow, right? Beyond your need to sit in despair. And then finally, be willing to acknowledge people and really ask yourself, do I believe that I need to significantly limit other people in order for my society or really just myself to improve? If you're willing to do these things, if you're willing to put other people first, there will be no loneliness in your life, right? Because you will be the safest person that anybody is aware of. You're gonna be the person that everybody comes to find that sense of calm and stability because you exemplify it so deeply for yourself. So I hope this video made sense. I'm here to give you guys the raw truth. If you have a problem with anything I've said, if you disagree with any of it, please drop a comment. Let's chat. I am super, super open to debating any of this stuff, and I'm here for you guys. Okay, so you're not alone. Even if it's just me, some random dude on the internet, I'm here for you. And so let me know what I can do. Let me know how I can, make your life a little bit better. If that's joining my Discord and having some kind of community, you're all fucking welcome. You all are so, so welcome, and I would love to have you. You can shoot me an email. You can follow me on anywhere, DM me anything. I don't know how else to say. I'm in your corner. Don't give up. You can do this. You are strong enough. You are more than capable. You are more than gifted, and I want you to know that. So hit that follow button or subscribe, like this video, hit that little notification bell so you know when my videos come out. I would really love to be making more videos, and so give me that sweet support. And yeah, much love. Namaste. Talk to you guys later. Bye.